What are we doing here? This is a podcast about writing, reading, and the shit in between. So we're going to be talking about books that we review. We're going to be talking about news on the literary front. And we've got a cross-section of people to discuss the above. So I'll introduce everybody. Well, you can introduce yourselves. So that's Caleb J. Ross. Caleb, what do you do?
I write books, have some books out there. I give my opinion on books, usually invalid opinions, but the glory of the internet.
Of course. Dean?
I run a YouTube channel reviewing books, like usually more of the literature type stuff you might like study in high school and college and stuff, and then on the side I apply for jobs until I get one.
Of course. You also do curveball stuff like graphic novels and just
Yes.
weird stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, if I pick up something cool, I'm always willing to share that too. Comic books, magazines, whatever.
Liz?
I'm Liz from Lizzie Books, and I do all sorts of things on the internet, but basically a lot of it is book reviewing and just talking about books and talking about the BookTube community, which is something that I'm very passionate about, something that is growing with BookTube news, and I think that's about it. Doing awesome things, yes.
Yes, Liz also kind of promotes the industry, as it were, so she's got a list of all the people doing BookTube, which is really cool. It's how a lot of us got started. Well, it's how I got started. Anyway. Okay, so it's going to be just a basic anything goes kind of discussion. There's no holds barred. You can talk about anything you want, even if we got off track with news topics and discussion. I mean, it's anything, keep us on track, but honestly, I mean, it's just shit on about anything you want. As long as it has to do with books, that's cool. So this is going to be a fortnightly thing. We record for a couple of hours and we split it up on a YouTube channel over about a 2-week period, so a bunch of episodes, stuff like that. Apart from that, this is also kind of the introduction to the new collaborative channel for BookTube. I haven't got a title for that yet, but it's owned by everyone. It's not really a solo person kind of thing, because like this podcast is run primarily by me, so I organize everything. But with this YouTube channel, we're getting everyone to help. You don't have to do anything. You just own the thing. So yeah. Anyway, okay. So before we start with the news, the very first news topic, I just want to mention that we get all our information from Gallicat, which is www. Fuck it. I'll just put it in the title. I'll just put it on the screen. It's fine.
It would have been faster to just say the URL than it would be for you to explain that you're going to put it on
it's mediabistro.gallic.com/gallicat.
Thank you for running the podcast. This is awesome.
You're welcome. This is what I do best. Take in charge.
Okay, so J.K. Rowling's The Casual Vacancy also passes the million sales mark. So, in addition to the bundle getting 1 million, this has made $1 million as well. Okay, this book. Has anyone read it?
No.
I've read 7 chapters of it.
Right. Well, I I wasn't a fan, not to say the least. So, like, I can understand that it would make 1 million sales because of name recognition. But I mean, honestly, this book has really pissed me off. I paid $20 for it, and I want that $20 back right now. But JK's a cool writer. She's a good writer. But this was just horrible. Anyway, Liz, what were your thoughts so far on what you've read?
I feel like I haven't read enough to like necessarily judge it, because I know some people who say that like they didn't necessarily like it going in, but they liked it, once they finished it and everything. But I put it on my do not finish for right now, and so not really feeling it right now. I feel like it's almost one of those books that I have to wait till I'm about 40 to really enjoy it. It's one of those kinds of books where I'm like, and that's not a good feeling. And like, yeah, I've read adult books before, but it's just like, this is just really, it's like she just went off the deep end on, this is not Harry Potter, and I'm just like, I get it, got it, But you don't need to be like absolutely just, you know, it's one of those things that you just don't expect it from an author of her popularity to go from like, oh, you know, little wizard in a wizarding world to I'm gonna talk about old people's parts.
Yeah, she was kind of right when she said it's not Harry Potter. It's definitely not, it's all the bad parts of Harry Potter combined and then made into a separate book. So it's just like, I don't want to go too in depth with like a review on the book, but you know, just to give Caleb and Dean an impression, it's just really horrible. It's just like it depicts a town, like a small town, and how everyone's like really depressed and everything, and it's just
it doesn't make for a fun read.
This is generally what I've heard from like most of, like, I haven't been intentionally going out trying to find reviews, but from the tweets here and there and Facebook posts and stuff, you guys are pretty much sounding exactly like what everybody else has been saying. Not like it was a disaster, but it was just kind of a letdown. I mean, Harry Potter is tough to live up to, though, so.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys, just how powerful is name recognition when it comes to selling a new like franchise or just a singular title? Because Harry Potter sold 15 million within the first 24 hours, and this only sold 1 million in 3 weeks. So,
well, I think if you ask any book publisher, they'll tell you like extremely powerful, to the point of we don't like bothering to try with most others. I don't know. I don't think I would have picked up. I don't think I'd even be looking at or discussing this with you guys if it wasn't by her. I mean, I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't think she's going to be turning this into a franchise. In all honesty.
The casual occupancy. That's number 2. I think
the awkward vacancy.
Name recognition. I think without a doubt it's important to a publisher and important to authors who have the name recognition. You know, and I think having one book published will help you to get a second book published, but it's definitely not sort of a gateway to success. Just having, I mean, anyone can publish a book now at $10 in an Amazon account. You have a book published, basically. So, it really, publishers only care about, honestly, the big publishers anyway, the big 6 only care about sales numbers. So if you have sales numbers, that equates to basically name recognition, and so they're going to continue to put out whatever the hell you write. I mean, J.K. Rowling could have peed on a bunch of paper and they would have published it, and that would have been fine, and it might have sold more than
a million copies too.
That's right, it probably would have.
It would have been better than the Casual Vacancy.
I will say I haven't read obviously the Casual Vacancy, but the idea, honestly, I read about the synopsis, and it seems like something that could have had some good mileage out of it. I like books that have sort of an interesting concept, and then the whole world revolves around a very singular concept. And this one being, there's a vacancy on an electoral board. I think it's basically like a city council equivalent, and people are wondering what that means. Like, that kind of idea is actually really interesting to me, but it sounds like maybe she took it in directions that it didn't work. I don't know.
Yeah, she went in a complete opposite direction to what she's used to. I think she figured for an adult audience she would have to write different, and that's just wrong. That was just blatantly wrong, because with that, she's got her style. She's got her own cool style. It's like really accessible, and it's I don't know, it's just really easy to read. And then this one is just like really just all over the place. I don't know where she was going with it. It was just like goes from point A to point Z, then back to B, and then it hitchhikes to C. So,
well, if you consider not most of, but a lot of the readers of Harry Potter are adults. So obviously she was writing for an audience that appreciated that writing style, right? So, you know, at the same time, in her defense, she has to be wary of basically beating that young wizard drum forever. I mean, she has to do something else, right? I mean, she could probably live the rest of her life doing Harry Potter stuff, but she probably wouldn't get much satisfaction out of that. And, you know, poor old white rich woman, I'm sure that's a bummer that she has to keep making a fortune off of Harry Potter, but maybe it's just not spiritually fulfilling. You know, she has to do something else. I wish I was in that position, right, where I had to make that kind of choice, but I'm not. Boo. I wish I was an old white woman. That's what I'm trying.
Very successful old white woman. Yeah. her problem was she definitely dove into a pool that she wasn't used to, and she made ripples that should not have been there. So no, I think R.L. Stein went the right way around it. He basically just wrote for his first adult book an adult Goosebumps novel, but he made like a lot of adult concepts and all this, but he kept the writing style the same, just really easy to read, really just same kind of protagonists, just doing their own thing. So that was really enjoyable with this book. Anyway, I think we're getting off
It
topic
also-
with talking about the book too much. But yeah, go ahead.
It also had like at least 5 storylines. It was all like along the same like timeline and everything. Everything went in order, but there were too many stories to really like be able to follow it without being like, okay, so I'm in this person's world now, I'm in this person's world, and so.
Yeah, there's too many characters in that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I hear that if she had written it as a pseudonym or as a pen name, I'm hearing that it probably wouldn't have made the book any better. Like if you didn't have all that baggage of knowing J.K. Rowling, probably still wouldn't have been anything worth reading.
It was just a bad book. I don't want to really say that because like, what if she like watches this one day? But seriously, I mean, I don't know what she was thinking. She's out of her mind. So, one last thing. The book length for this is 500 pages, and if anyone doesn't know, I have a major problem with anything over 300 pages. 300 pages. So I got 150 pages, and then I got quite pissed off because it was just just padding for the sake of padding. So I would like to get you guys' thoughts on padding in general and book length.
Padding
Piss you off?
Padding is bad, but I would say that just because a book's over 300 pages doesn't necessarily mean that it has padding. Like I think book length, using that as a determinant is I think rational if you're saying I have only so much time to read. I want to read for this amount of time. I want to get through a story. That's a good rational reason to say I want a shorter book. But to say like just arbitrarily like I won't read a book over this many pages because it's just padding. Maybe you've been burned in the past. I don't know, but like I would say that, and it's kind of a cop out, I guess, to say that the story needs as many pages as it takes. So in some authors' hands, they can write a good story for a really long number of pages as long as they make it mean something. But if you have a book, for example, with only a couple characters and you try to stretch that to 1,000 pages, it's not going to work. Like generally speaking, the reason big books get bigger is because there's more characters. Short stories, you generally see just a couple characters. Novellas, a couple more. Novels, a couple more. So the more characters you add, the more pages you're going to add. That's just kind of a general rule. Not a rule, but it's just the way it is. So if you only have a couple characters and it's just and you're padding it for the sake of padding it, then that sucks. But I would say for a lot of my favorite books, Underworld by Don DeLillo is one of my favorite books, and it's a massive tome. But it's not a page wasted, man. I wouldn't give up any of the pages, but that's just me, I guess.
So one of my main gripes with the length issue is I equate the amount of time put into a book with how long it could be. So if you put in 10 years, then that's and you've written a book that length, I think that's justified. I think you can write a book that length. That's fine. But I'd prefer to see a lot more shorter novels instead of a longer piece. So you could write a whole series of novellas, and so you could do what JK did. You could have a short book at the start and then span them outwards as people get interested in the story because they're invested in it now. But if you make people buy a big book like this one for $20, and you're making an investment, like you're taking a chance for something that could be bad, and it turns out it was bad. So I feel ripped off by that. If she had made it so that it was some kind of like a build-up, then I would have known early on. I would have put in like $3 for a Kindle version or something like that, and it would have been fine. But instead, I think the reason a lot of people do book lengths like before is what you were saying before, Caleb, about needing to do that in order to make up for the print costs. But of course, now that we're doing ebooks, it's not too much of an issue. So I'd like to see us move away from it. I definitely know there is a niche demographic for longer novels, and so you should keep doing that. Just like there's a market for paperbacks, even though I'm not personally a huge fan of it. So I mean, it's all there. It's just
I'd like
Depends
to
where the market's going to go.
I'd like to chime in on this too, and I'm going to take this like even more extreme than Caleb here. And I think that I'm not saying that there aren't great short books out there, but when it comes to the best of the best books, it's almost a requisite that they have to be really long. And I'm not saying there aren't a ton of garbage long books out there, but if you're talking about masterminds of the written word who know what they're doing, and you want to get really in depth into a certain theme or a character's mind or something like that, the best ones are the lengthiest. I'm thinking of just the two off of my head. I'm thinking of Moby Dick and the brothers Karamazov, I think it's pronounced, but I'm not Russian, are two of the best written works that I've personally ever read, and they're lengthy and they take time. And I have the privilege of generally reading older stuff, which means that there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people who can tell me if it sucked before I read it. And you don't get that privilege with new works, and that causes a big problem. But it just seems to me like if you're talking about an author who is really one of the best who's ever been around, who's ever written, period, I want as in-depth and detailed and as serious of a work as they are willing to produce. If it takes 1,000 pages and I feel satisfied page after page, I'm going to be happier with that than if it was the same exact level of skill in a 300-page book. Obviously, filler always sucks, but not all lengthy books obviously are all filler. So,
is the question then, Donlin, what do you want out of a book? So maybe you want entertainment. I know you're a fan of philosophically heavy dialogue, which you could definitely have in a short book.
So are you looking at a book
for a quick piece of entertainment? You want to get through it, you want to think about it, and you're on to the next one? Or are you looking for, do you want to be kind of romanced by the language, I guess? You really want to see how pretty the words are and that kind of stuff? Because I like it both ways, but I mean, maybe it's just a matter of you just have a different intention, different desire, I guess.
I definitely read books for the story alone. That's why when someone can sum up a story, that's why I really like flash fiction, because it's a really quick story. It gives you the entire thing in like a short span of time, because I really like seeing someone come up with a really good idea and then express it in a way like that.
Yeah.
With the philosophical dialogue, that's just like a personal thing. It's just, I really like thinking about a lot of like life's huge issues and all that kind of thing, and this is a way to be entertained at the same time as reading about it. So it's kind of like when you're being educated and like you gotta like read a book that's like entertaining in order to learn about something. It's kind of like that, but in a different kind of way where it's not set in stone. So what you're reading might be fiction, it might not be true, but you can't really tell the difference. It doesn't matter for me. It's like fiction, non-fiction, it's fine, because as long as it gives me some good things to think about, that's cool with me. So my entire issue with book length is just to do with things being drawn out for the sake of being drawn out, and I know people like that, so they can keep that if they want. But on a personal level, I just like caring about the story, and short stories are too, I don't know, they're too short for me, because they start to build up, then they just immediately end, and that's just not satisfying. Whereas a novella is like, it's drawn it to the point where you get this whole story, but there's nothing padding it in between in order to extend the drama or anything. It's just that story. So yeah,
I respect that.
All got different tastes.
My taste is brown ale, apparently.
I'm drinking vodka. It's too early in the day for that.
Not here, it's not.
Oh yeah, America, big deal. La-di-da. Toilets go the other way.
Not America, la-di-da.
Did you hear in Australia right now? It's like snake season. There's snakes all over the place. Like you could go outside and get killed by 3 snakes. It's a snake season. It's on the news. I swear to God, they're just jumping from rooftops and shit.
Nuh-uh.
Like I was nearly killed
like
by this
season,
snake
but...
size of a tree.
Well, they live underground.
To me.
Australians live underground. That's why they're jumping from rooftops. So you have to understand it's different, you know.
We moved out from the hobbit holes. I mean, it's not like that anymore. We're very civilized.